You want a treat, don't you?
Sorry, no treats. He goes, is that a treat? It's fuzzy.
Oh, thank you so much.
Says, you put your hand out. I thought you wanted to shake my foot.
Hey friends, you're watching BrainStormAcres. I'm Henry.
And I'm Irene.
We've been all over the West Coast.
It sure seems like it. left October 1st for Taft, California, to attend an event there with the SEA group that we play with, the medieval reenactment group. We did the event. It was pretty good. We saw a bunch of people. It was hot. Oh, it was hot. We hit 100 degrees like 2 or 3 days in a row. Rufus made a new friend. He got to meet another service dog there he loves now, Gunther. Gunther's about the same age as he is. A teeny bit bigger than he is. One of the standard poodle mixes. But they had so much fun because they're both still enough puppy that there was much play bowing and slapping of paws on the ground and slapping of paws on heads and bouncing around and woofing. But we finished that event, and then we zoomed to California to go visit our father into California, to San Luis Obispo to visit our daughter.
And then we turned around. Then we turned around and we came back to Arizona. Spent one night here.
Repacked our suitcases and grabbed a different vehicle.
And drove to Grants, New Mexico.
Right.
Now, the reason why we did that was, I think in 2017 we saw the full eclipse.
Right, that was available in the United States. We had actually been in Pennsylvania for Penzic. We drove to visit your mom in Maine, and then we left early because we were determined to go see a full eclipse. We've seen lots of partial eclipses over the years, but to be in just the right spot with good weather and all that sort of stuff, all those stars aligning, so to speak, in terms of being able to get someplace, we were determined to go see that one. That when we drove to Missouri, and we were able to find a spot right in the middle of it, and we sat in the back parking lot
Of a Cracker Barrel.
of a Cracker Barrel restaurant, and with a whole bunch of other people, because you had a clear view of the sky. It was comfortable there. You weren't in anybody's way. You're in the back parking lot, so you're not clogging up their business. And we watched the total eclipse there, and it was awesome. And so when we heard that the annular eclipse, which means that the moon is smaller than the sun, so you get a ring.
It's just not in the right place in the sky, so you can't get the complete eclipse.
Well, we got to see the full ring.
So it was really great. We looked at the map of where the eclipse was going to be, where you can be able to see it, and there was a band of 90%, not too far from us, only about 200 miles.
Right.
But I looked at the map and said, well, let's get right smack dab in the middle of that path so we stand the best chance of seeing as good a shot as we possibly can of this eclipse.
Which is what we did with the Missouri eclipse too, and it was the right choice. And in the case of Missouri, there was actually a little concern. We had friends who went to other places in the United States who didn't get to see it because they had complete cloud cover. We had a teeny bit of cloud cover early, but then it cleared perfectly for that eclipse. So the weather looked really good for that section. We could have gone up into Nevada, but that's actually a longer drive. You kind of can't get there from here because the Grand Canyon's in the way.
Yeah, it's not in the way, it's a fact of life.
Yeah, so you have to drive around it by going much farther west. So it was actually a shorter run to go over to New Mexico. And found a nice clear view of the sky there.
It's not a Cracker Barrel, though.
It's not a Cracker Barrel, but it was just fine. There's no Cracker Barrels in Grants, New Mexico. We would have to go to Gallup for that. But we went, sat there with a few other people and had a very nice view of the sky. And it was very cool. We really got to see a good view of it. It was completely clear. It was beautiful. And then after that, we jumped in the car and came back.
Stayed here for a few days.
Yeah. Stayed here for like 3 or 4 days. That's as few. I mean, just time to do some laundry and sort of semi-figure out where you are when you wake up in the morning.
And then we went to Pasadena, California.
Henry's mom decided that she wanted to meet all the great-grandbabies. So our daughter organized the trip for her.
There's a lot of moving pieces there.
Well, you've got a lot of adults, the grandkids, who have jobs.
Yeah, they're in the middle of their careers.
Yeah. So they travel on business. It's summertime, so they've got people traveling on vacation. She had to time it so that we could get everybody in someplace.
First up for my mother and her traveling companion. Thank you very much, Terry, for accompanying my mother. My mother is in her 90s, and having somebody else along really helps.
It just makes it safer.
Yeah, the first stop was in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, where she visited with our nephew James, and she met 2 of the great-grandkids.
Right, right.
And then she got on a plane and flew to Burbank, California.
Right.
Great airport.
Right. I've never been into that one.
It's really nice. It's a smaller airport. It's not quite as congested. There's not as many flights going in and out as LAX, which is the next really closest airport.
Right.
So she flew to Burbank, where James's brother, older brother actually, Eric, picked up my mother and Terry, and
took them to a house that our daughter had rented in Pasadena. We came in the next day, and then Eric and Riley, his wife, came over for dinner, and we ordered in food.
Yeah, so
I signed up for DoorDash so that we could order food.
My mother's objective was to see all the great-grandkids, and she made them all, but there's one more in the oven. Then
the next day, our niece Rachel came over. She had just gotten back from a trip to Greece, and she hadn't been feeling good on the end of the trip, so she tested, and she was positive for COVID. So we all met outside.
Rachel wore a mask.
Yes, and we all met outside at the edge of the yard. They traded presents and you know whatnot, and we chatted for a while, and then Rachel hauled her kids home. Then we chilled a little bit that day, and then the next day Eric came over, and we did you stayed home with Rufus because it was a little hot, and we were concerned that Rufus would be uncomfortable in the park.
Well, they were going to go to a botanical garden. It's 120 some acres.
150 acres of it's 200 and some odd acres of land, but 150 acres of planted plants of various
and 3
sorts.
acres of roses of various kinds.
Right. So we did. We went over there. It was really beautiful. It's one of the nicest botanical gardens I've been to in a very long time. Henry and I have been big fans of botanical gardens forever. We used to be members of a couple so that we could just pop in whenever we wanted to.
It's not so convenient to go pop in now. The closest one that is really worth going to is down in Phoenix. It's a long drive.
And that's a desert botanical garden, which is lovely, but there's more to life than desert. So, in fact, we skipped the desert when we were at the botanical garden. It was, I think it's called Huntington Botanical Garden in Pasadena. We did the rose section, which is 3 acres of really amazing roses, and they're really good about putting the things into chopped up sections so that you can walk between the rows and really smell them all, then label them all and stuff like that. So that was very fun. And then we did the Chinese garden and the Japanese garden. You have to walk through a section of the Chinese garden to get to the Japanese garden, twisty paths, really lovely. When we got down to the Japanese garden, there was a sign there commemorating the visitation of Their Majesty's Japanese royals. It came in like 96, I think.
Was it the emperor?
Yeah, it was the emperor and his lady who came in like 1996, which is the same time that they came to Hakone Gardens, which was one of our favorite gardens up in the Los Gatos, San Jose area a million years ago. So
not quite a million years.
It just seems.
But a little while.
and a lifetime away. They're apparently running down the list. That says potential spam too. So we clipped the edge of the Chinese garden in order to go down to the Japanese garden, and then we came up back through the Chinese garden. They had some amazing botanical displays, the water and the fish, and they had a bonsai interior garden, and the tea houses that you can open the walls on and all that kind of stuff. So that was very fun. Then we decided we'd had enough fun and it was time for lunch.
So Rufus and I had a great time at the house. Well, he wasn't so happy because Mom left. So he was really laying down looking for where she was, and I allowed him to do something he's never allowed to do, and that is he got on the sofa.
Right.
So he could stare out the window.
Right, because there's a sofa right by the window. He could sit on the sofa and look out the window.
So he was watching for Irene.
Right. And then the rest of us all went to lunch at California Pizza Kitchen. And that was nice because it was cool enough there. It was interesting. It was actually cooler there than it was down in the gardens in some sections. We were able to get a really nice spot in the shade outside with a nice breeze. So that was a lovely place to have lunch because we don't get to eat outside very often in Arizona.
Well, as you can tell, we've had a really, really busy first 3 weeks of October.
Yeah.
We've been to California
Twice.
Different
parts of California.
New Mexico once.
Yeah.
From here to where we went last in California was 420 miles one way. To go to our event was 460 miles one way. Going to New Mexico was 300 miles one way. So we put a little miles on and a little time in the car.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a few times when I've woken up and I thought, I have no idea where I am.
Where am I?
Where am I?
You know what? It's time to say goodbye because we have a lot of stuff to get done still.
Yeah.
We're running as fast as we can. Our objective is to continue publishing shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then a short on Sunday.
Right, right. And I'm going to be, I'm going to be working on some new product for my shop. And Henry has suggested that I do a couple of videos discussing how I choose new product and then the actual development process involved in taking something from a piece of paper picture to something that you can actually use.
So in the meantime, I get to go back out and put a brand new battery into the rover. I took it back today and it was dead. And it got replaced under warranty, did a warranty exchange, which was great because that's $200.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a lot of money. Well, from my perspective, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I get to get that hopefully fixed. And if I can't get it fixed, I'm going to send it to a mechanic who works on Range Rovers on a regular basis because there's a point inside that dash when it's beyond my tool set. I'm not going to go spend $1,200 for the tool to test all the different cables and computers and everything else. So at some point, I have to call a halt to the loss of time.
Right, right, because we really need that rover before this winter.
Looks like it's going to be a
we don't
snowy
know.
winter.
It could be it has the potential for being a snowy winter because of El Nino. And the problem is the Forester that we drive most of the time is a great little four-wheel drive. It handles really well, but it's shorter. And when you get deep snow, it's not going to make it.
I remember the last really big snow we had when we were driving the box truck in. I barely got it off the main road, not a highway, and got it stuck. And I had a friend who at the time had a backhoe, and he came over and dug us out and pulled us up the driveway.
But and we could do that again if we had to. But the problem is we need to be able to get in and out at least a little bit once in a while. The postmaster gets cranky if we don't pick up our mail once a week. It's important stuff, and we get so much. We get Rufus's food, the cat's food. There's just a lot of things we can't get locally, so we need to get stuff.
The post office is a lot closer.
Yeah, and the market in town where we pick up our other packages.
Say goodbye, Irene.
Yeah, so be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because we have a lot going on. We're still unpacking, and you'll get to see bits and pieces of that as it all happens.
Well, more or less as it happens.
Well, sort of. Close enough for government work. So, until next time, bye.
Keep brainstorming.
Yeah, obviously we are.
My brain hurts.
Me too.